Welcome to the Football Show, sponsored by Indigo Communications. I'm Peter Martin. This is Alan Ruff. That's Tam Cowan. It's Thursday. Delighted to have your company. And if you join us on our YouTube channel, why not hit the subscribe button? Always good to stay with the football family and keep up to date with all the unique video content. If you download the app, you get all the breaking football stories. Ruffy can do it, and if Ruffy can do it, anybody can do it. Simple as that. He is to technology what you and I are to ballet, Tam. It's as simple as that. So with a bit of luck, you can join us here on our YouTube, or indeed download the app as well, where you can also watch the programme live. Lots of things to talk about, including European football, and it's been another dismal night for Scottish football. But with that in mind, our quiz question has to do with a group of fans and a team that are on a high at the moment. It's the only way to describe it, because Napoli, well, it was a big win against Liverpool. What year did Napoli last win a European trophy? In fact, it's their only European trophy. Which year did they win that trophy? If you know the answer, then we will give you, of course, a pat in the back. And at the end of the programme, just before we go, we'll give you the answer to it. What year did Napoli win a European trophy? Simple as that.
I've been to the ballet.
Yeah, have you?
I've been to the ballet. A terrible seat. I was sitting right at the back, couldn't hear the words.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite good, actually. That's a world record for you. You've got it in 54 seconds. Not your best, may I add.
You get the big bit of deflection at the way, starting with Napoli. There's fans of everybody apart from the big two sitting there rubbing their hands. All the folk that were saying, no, it's terrible, Rangers and Celtic and straight in the Champions League. My point was, they would have been able, Schadenfreude, I believe they call it, able to get a wee smile when you see Celtic Rangers getting pumped, because it doesn't happen domestically.
Yeah, well,
Celtic fans will say, well, it did happen. What's that?
Apart from that, what have the Romans ever done for us? But on that point, we start off with a situation which, Ian's not happy. He says, Ajax made Rangers look like a bunch of school kids. He says, if this is the best Scottish football can produce, it's diabolical. One word to sum it up, he says, excrement. I think he was trying to get a word that was acceptable to us. Ian McCulloch sent us quite a few Ians on today. Says, you're all talking about how Ajax play the same way through all age groups on yesterday's show. Why haven't you mentioned the team you're supposed to be talking about, which is Rangers? That's what's happening at Rangers. And suddenly today it's a good idea. Well, if it's happening at Rangers, I'm not quite sure what they're teaching them, Ruffy, because quite simply, there's a lot of Rangers fans who are going to be on this feed. And you look over the last 24 hours, a lot of angry Rangers fans about what they watched in the Amsterdam Arena.
Yeah, I thought it was disappointing. You know, I thought in the evidence of last year with Rangers in Europe, I thought they played particularly well away from home. I was expecting the same sort of a show last night, but it never materialised. It didn't look as if they'd recovered for the weekend, for the battering for Celtic. And they went out there and the same thing happened again. So back to the drawing board, but it just looks as if, you know, our two teams just aren't Champions League teams, they're Europa Cup teams.
Well, hello. I mean, is there anything? I mean, is that some kind of?
Start singing.
No, I was just about to say to you, is that some kind of shock to you, Tam? They're in pot four. I mean, I didn't expect Celtic to win against Real Madrid. I thought Real Madrid would win. They did. I didn't expect Rangers to win in the Johan Cruyff Arena, because I thought Ajax would be a better team than.
Yeah, they might have been a better team, but see, for me, the two big shocks in the consecutive nights, the big shock for me with the Celtic game was that first half, when I did not expect. Celtic gave Real Madrid at times a wee bit of a roasting.
Yes.
And they're but for the woodwork, of course, Callum McGregor, beautiful shot, the way he just kind of cushioned it and tried to place it, and then the other couple of wee kind of half chances that maybe in another day, maybe not with the same pressure, the same expectation, those chances might have been tucked away in the league. And then the shock last night was I think Ajax took a lot of neutral observers, shall we say, by surprise, because I don't think you were expecting them to be quite as good. They just did not give Rangers a sniff. And when they kept putting up the stats on the screen, it was a worrying look for Rangers, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, John says at least all the Celtic teams showed up and put in a shift on Tuesday night, even if we did get convincingly beaten by Real Madrid. No Rangers player turned up or put a shift in. It was disgusting. I don't think it would go as far as it's disgusting. I mean, at the end of the day, they were beaten by Ajax. It's not been a good week. It's been 4-0 defeats for them, and that's hard to take. And you very rarely, back-to-back 4-0 defeats is rare for Rangers.
No, but I mean, you have to look at the two teams they played. You know, they played Celtic, who are top of the game now, and a Champions League team. So I didn't expect 2-4 nothings for a start. You know, it was just a lack of effort that they put in last night, and I'm sure the Rangers supporters watching the game. You know, the difference in the two games were at the Celtic Real Madrid game. All the Celtic supporters were still in the stadium at the end cheering.
Absolutely.
Last night, the Rangers fans were leaving.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, Celtic
that's the
effectively
difference.
took a wee kind of lap of honour, slightly subdued lap of honour, but they still did it. Managerial there, there's no way the Rangers players or Giovanni van Bronckhorst would have done that last night. They let the guys down, and again for the guys that went there, including one of my pals, you know, it's not cheap. You know, it's particularly this kind of climate we're in now financially. You know, the guys spent a load of money, and they just didn't get a show out of Rangers at all.
But your point, Tam, is relevant to the last two games because, you know, 3-0 down at half time for the second game in a row. As Tam mentioned, they had 25% possession and 1 shot on target last night, and 3 shots on target over 2 games. It's just so poor, and Rangers fans are asking lots and lots of different questions about the structure, the money available to Van Bronckhorst, the players and their performances.
There's continued chat, maybe idle speculation about takeovers and all the rest of it. And
I've seen that text. Have you?
Yeah, there's a lot. You know, it always happens given the circumstances. But and of course, Rangers get in to play Aberdeen at Punditry in the weekend. You know, and there's even other Snyder texts and tweets and stuff coming out with folk who have allegedly, I've not seen any cash changing hands, put on for a hat-trick of 4-0 defeats to Rangers in the space of a week. I think that would be quite a story if Aberdeen won 4-0.
Can I just say something to you, Tam? And I don't want to obviously put myself under pressure, but I feel safe in the knowledge that if, I know you're taking the staff out as well, and you're also taking everybody out because you lost the predictor last season. If Aberdeen win 4-0 against Rangers at the weekend, I'm going to pay half the bill. Is that fair?
Aye, that's fair enough. I mean, the bottom line was, I mean, just to touch ever so briefly on Aberdeen, bottom line is, if you're looking for it, and it is always Aberdeen, the whole thing about 37 years, nobody else winning it, I think you'd have to say in terms of the big city, perhaps money coming in for the oil industry, whatever else, the great history of the club, European winners in the past, it is kind of, if you're being sensible, Aberdeen that you're looking to maybe put a dent in Rangers or Celtic eventually, right?
Yeah.
But then last week summed it up, as much as they've been moaning the fact, a late goal for Ross County, but you know, that wouldn't have happened to a truly good team. You know, they would have seen out the 3 points, no bother. So yeah, it appears to be we're in this terrible state of limbo now, because it clearly is Celtic and Rangers, and then they also rans in the top flight in Scotland, but then the minute the old firm dip their toe into the European waters, particularly with the big boys of the Champions League, then no competition, it's not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Giovanni van Bronckhorst didn't actually shirk any of the main questions about the standard of his team's performance last night. It's certainly not at the level of the cream of Europe.
We had a bad game. I think we weren't in the game enough to compete with Ajax. I think the level we reached in the first half against Ajax was not on the level that's needed to be competitive in Champions League. You can see the difference in movements, in passing, in thinking. I mean, that's the level we are facing in Champions League.
Yeah, no surprise there.
Was that gave him the drink? I've seen this in old spy movies in the past.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Somebody
been the I don't know, the curator of follow or something. There we go. I'm checked that, Gio.
They're usually in the front row. But nevertheless, he's highlighting the fact, and I wonder why he needed to do it. He didn't need to tell anybody with half a brain who's a Rangers fan. You know, quite simply, Rangers and Celtic cannot compete in the Champions League for hundreds of millions. Nobody's expecting that, Ruffy. No. What they want to see is players putting themselves out there, really stepping up to the plate, using all their energy to give their all. Whatever they've got at their level, give it all. They didn't see that last night. They didn't see that energy. They didn't see that commitment. And in the end, what they got was a disjointed side who let in, you know, some really, really poor goals. and they've witnessed it back to back over the last few days, and it's just not good enough for them. That's why they're angry.
No, of course they are. And I know they come out after the game and they say that, oh, we can't compete. It's no rocket science. You know, our teams don't buy players at 30 million, 35, 40 million. So what you've got to do is get your team organised enough to try and beat them, you know, and make it hard for them to beat them. I mean, if all the Scottish clubs and here went on after every game and went, oh, we can't compete with Rangers and Celtic, it's a nightmare, you know. Just try and be organised and try and make it as hard as possible for them. So I don't buy into we can't compete, because we know that's the way it is, but just get on with it and just put up a show. I mean, Celtic put up a show for 45 minutes. It was great to watch.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think that's all the supporters are looking at, and with the reaction of the Celtic supporters at the end of the game, that's what they wanted.
Well, listen, if you're talking about two defeats and how they are looked upon in total contrast, I mean, Celtic, I thought, played some really nice football. I always thought they were going to be outclassed in the end, because Real Madrid, for me, have been in that movie with many teams. They've been in it with PSG, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. They know how to soak up pressure. They're not affected by loud screams in the Champions League theme music. They wait, they bide their time. But I think the worrying thing, and Hugh Scott touches on it here, he says, Peter, it was a repeat of the weekend. So passive, not on the front foot at any point. Better organisation is needed as well. They need a big result on Saturday against Aberdeen. And of course, people starting to look at some of the players and the recruitment and some of the team selection. That's what happens, Stan.
Maybe the lack of recruitment. That tends to be
that's there as well, yeah.
A big talking point with the Rangers fans. Of course, the last guy they did bring in, their final signing, was actually in the month of July. And they hadn't added to the squad since then. And clearly, they could do with strengthening. But the damning indictment, if you like, of the game last night, Peter, is that and you might have been a lot of Rangers fans who would have enjoyed that, or the prospect of that, but it did just make you almost forget the Old Firm game last week. You know, this was so front and centre, that result last night, that performance, that, you know, you think you'd still be picking the bones out of the Celtic game, but it's like, it's moved on. You think, this is another absolute calamity.
Yeah.
What went wrong here? But, you know, the Saturday thing is going to be very, very interesting, because absolutely no harm. We're never done talking up Livingston in this show, as you know, and you'd read Davy Martindale in the other week. But even then, you would imagine at the weekend at Celtic, when you see them jousting with Real Madrid, particularly in that first half, you're kind of imagining that, you know, they'll have too much for Livy, and then you see Rangers going to their old adversaries, Aberdeen, and you think, what's the league going to look like Monday morning?
Yeah, and Ruffy, here's the other point, which I think everybody, I know quite a few people have said, he made the wrong decision in putting John McLaughlin in. I mean, it's great, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but was it right to leave McGregor as a sub?
Yeah, I said that right after the game. It's all about man management, and I thought he handled it perfectly well. He's got a goalkeeper that's going to be there longer than Alan McGregor, so he's got to look after him. Yeah, a couple of the goals against Celtic you could probably blame him for, but he's a long term there. Well, he is at the moment, so you've got to stand by him. You know, if you keep dropping everybody who had a bad game, then half of that team wouldn't have been playing last night.
Yeah.
You know, so
the captain was clearly playing with an injury, which suggests I mean, you know, there's quite a few people have mentioned Nathan Patterson was sold, but if the captain's injured, somebody else has to step up.
Yeah, I mean, we keep going back across the road to Celtic, and that's what he's done. He's went and he's got positions for every position. You know, he's got two players for every position. Rangers don't seem to, you know, have done that. You know, the ride and the experience and the quality, and sometimes you would do that because you're in the final of the Europa Cup. You know, you're a penalty kick away from winning it. So sometimes you say to yourself, well, okay, we've got a lot of money coming in here. Let's try and spend it wisely. We've already discussed that. What goes on behind the scenes, where the money and all that goes. But sometimes before that Celtic game, I don't think there'll be many Rangers fans going, why have we not spent any money? Because they hadn't lost the game.
Yeah, no, but that explains it all. But then suddenly they'd Celtic to play their other rivals, and then suddenly they'd get into European football on the biggest stage, which is completely different for the opposition they faced so far. So it didn't seem anything was amiss. But the Alan McGregor, I mean, I would love it if you could get Alan McGregor just to walk into the studio now and sat him down and talk to him. It absolutely fascinates me, because the minute he get the new deal, I thought, right, you've got to play him. and this isn't hindsight speaking, you're absolutely right, hindsight is a wonderful thing until particularly his blunder last week when he put one on the plate for Davy Turnbull. Nobody was really scrutinising John McLaughlin too much. Everybody was thinking he was a good goalie, he was in the Scotland squad, etc. But for me, the minute they gave Alan McGregor a new contract, and you almost had to double check that it wasn't a contract just in a coaching capacity or whatever, No, they had re-signed him as a player. I think the only thing that went wrong for Alan McGregor last season was Craig Gordon and his absolutely amazing form. Alan McGregor wasn't getting quite the same headlines as he used to in previous seasons as a goalie. Craig Gordon was absolutely outstanding. But did McGregor really do anything wrong? And I just wonder, and I was dying to ask Ruffy, I was thinking this last night when I was watching the game, that thing that I've only heard as a guy that's never played football, but would McGregor between the sticks for that defence, it was very wobbly last night, does that not immediately give the guys a bit of confidence to know that you've got somebody like McGregor behind you?
Well, the question you asked quickly, I'll put it in there before Ruffy answers, is did McGregor do anything wrong last season? Well, Rangers fans would say yes.
Yeah, there was at least two well-documented blunders.
Yeah, and when you lose the league, suddenly those two take on an enormous scale. In relation to Tam's point.
Yeah, the point of the whole matter is, and you touched on it briefly, the dialogue that must have went on with the Rangers manager and Alan McGregor at the start of the season. He's obviously went in and he's obviously said to him, look, I'm 39, am I going to be your number one keeper? And if I'm going to be your number one keeper, I'll sign another year. This could be my last year. I've had a fantastic time at Rangers. I want to leave the club on a high. I don't want to leave it sitting on the bench. I'm a signing a year, and you have to say they must have been given assurances that he was the number one.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Maybe he was quite happy to say, right, Alan, there's going to be a reversal here. The way that John McLaughlin was brought in for maybe the domestic cup or whatever, as Alan McGregor has been this season, maybe he was quite happy with that at 39.
Who gives anybody an assurance?
I know.
Apart from when you get to your Neymars and your Mbappes and all these people who have various riders in their contract.
What about his goal the other night?
It was fantastic.
Oh, you could just watch it again and again.
But who gets that situation where you say, you're definitely going to be number one? You just don't get it. The other thing about it as well is you're talking about people talking about Rangers not complaining. I know a lot of Rangers fans who were not happy with the way Rangers were playing. Getting to the group stages was a great great feat by Rangers. The defeat of PSV, superb. But there were some Rangers fans saying it's just not clicking. There's not the football that they witnessed last season. There was rumblings of, we're getting there, we're getting the odd results that are getting us to where we want to be, which is the Champions League. They got there for it. But I think there was certainly a few of my mates who were turning around going, something is not as good as it was last season.
But what was the difference then? Because they only chipped two players.
Yeah, well,
Aribo and Bassey. The same players are there. The same players are getting put on the park that were near enough in that European final. So you have to say, is it because they've not got enough strength and depth? Are the players that were playing terrifically well last year just only performing this year?
Well, here's the other point. I look at players that we're constantly saying in this programme, if Rangers are going to get a point in Amsterdam, which I didn't think they were going to get, players have to step up. It's a Ryan Kent missing, not good enough. Didn't do it against Celtic, certainly didn't do it against Ajax, so there's your other one. I feel sorry for Cholak because I didn't think he had any great service.
That's enough.
And I thought there was a number of people that just didn't step up to it. I thought their defence was woeful. But now people are saying, well, wait a minute, the other big burning question which is really angering people is the recruitment. And the players that Ross Wilson has signed is suddenly coming under scrutiny. These are the players he's signed since 2020 that Rangers fans are now looking at and saying, well, this is just not good enough. Hadji injured, can't do anything about that. Canberry didn't make it. Roof injury prone. Cedric Itten not good enough. Scott Wright, I think a lot of people are looking and thinking, is he Rangers class? Balogun, no deal for him. McLaughlin questioning him. Bassey gone. Jack Simpson, never heard of him anywhere near the team. Bongani Zungu, didn't work out with him. Lundstrom, I think John Lundstrom's got something to offer Rangers, so I think he gets pass marks. Janino Bacuna, no. Zukovsky, no. Sakala, very rarely features now. Offabort, no. Diallo, back to Man United. Ramsey, failure. Sands, jury's out. Ben Davis, nobody's seen him. Yilmaz, nobody's seen him on a regular basis. Matondo, a flash, but nothing really of any great note. Cholak, for me, gets pass marks. Tom Lawrence gets pass marks. John Souttar's a slightly different situation because I think John Souttar has a family bereavement, and I think Rangers are handling him well. Tillman, I mean, I like Tillman, but you know, he was nowhere in the Celtic game.
You know what? If I wasn't going to take the production team out for the Mail before, I definitely am now. Excellent bit of research here.
Yes.
That was good, and that would be viewed like a horror movie by Rangers fans. Rangers fans that are tuned in to the show today, to look at that. Names, you could have sat them down in a pub quiz. I mean, diehards, guys that have not missed a Rangers game for 50 years, and I think they'd have struggled to have named half of the guys, you know, who clearly were also, when they came in, they weren't doing it on a voluntarily basis, you know.
Yeah.
So you've got all that money that has been spewed on guys that they've had no return on. It's scary stuff, and I'll tell you what else is scary. I don't know if you can enlighten me here while you're in a role here, Peter, but the Rangers and Celtic, I mean, you're already looking at the groups, is dropping into the next level of European competition guaranteed. You need to be third. So if you're fourth, Europe's over.
Gone. And
that's what they need to start thinking about.
But Tam, the expectation for both of them is fourth.
I know.
They're in top
But the
four.
bottom line is they need to strive for third, because as Rangers proved last year with the Europa League, of course, getting to the final, seems a long while ago now, certainly if you're a Rangers fan, but they know that the Champions League is beyond them, right? But they'll be looking at Rangers last year and thinking, if we get another tournament, at least we can hopefully make a wee bit of progress.
Well, I'm going to say something now based on the last two games that I've witnessed and the way things are looking with the team, the injuries, the players that are not stepping up to the plate. I think there's a serious worry from Rangers fans. I'm looking at the team and I think that Rangers team in that group, I think they can get maybe a point, Ruffy. Other than that, I don't see where any points are coming from. I'm being kind at that point because I think Napoli will take them home and away. I think Liverpool will take them home and away. And then you've got Ajax to come to Ibrox. I think Rangers maximum hoping for is a point in that group.
It's a right cheery thought, that.
And right away, Pete, even with the goals.
Not being unrealistic. I mean, Napoli beating Liverpool, they must be a fair side, you know. So the Rangers are only looking at their home game. Their home game's coming up to take anything at all. I can't disagree with you. I mean, these are quality sides that they're playing.
But Ruffy, what Peter's saying there, you know, and that's where the 3-0, 3 goals could come back to bite them, because if their best chance of getting anything is at home to Ajax, right? Well, as I say, I thought Ajax looked pretty decent last night. But again, if Rangers even beat them 2-0 but couldn't get anything against anybody else, that's them.
It's not good enough.
Out the group, out of Europe.
Yeah, I don't see anything other than a point, and I'm being kind saying a point. So I'm looking at Celtic's next games. They'll get nothing in Madrid. So their best bet, their battle is with Shakhtar Donetsk and Leipzig. Yeah. And I think, and I'm happy to be proved wrong on this, but I think Celtic are capable of third.
Right.
At best.
And again, though, in the same way that, let's be brutal on this, right? We know Napoli are top of their league now, but a lot of folk were stunned by what Napoli did to Liverpool, right?
Oh.
But by the same token, Shakhtar Donetsk, a brilliant result for them. And they might have been seen as kind of the sitting ducks in the group and the ones that, you know, that Celtic would get points from. But it's all up in the air. It's absolutely all up in the air. But so far, certainly, Celtic and Rangers, sadly at this level, kind of found out.
Yeah, and over and above that, I watched on in disbelief last night. I was sitting there and I thought to myself, great, get the dinner and brilliant. Sat, had my dinner off. I thought, I'll have a wee bit of ice cream. I'll watch a bit of Liverpool, and then I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, this is a nightmare. I mean, they were picking them off, and I actually got to the point where I thought, Napoli might take 5 or 6 off them. They were all over the place, and of course,
ice cream, was it?
It was.
No, what was it? I'm a real expert when it comes to ice cream. I only eat good ice cream.
Salted caramel.
Salted caramel.
Haagen-Dazs.
Just oh yeah, that's all right. Haagen-Dazs is okay.
Yeah. What's your favourite ice cream?
I probably have. I'm a stickler. You'd think this was maybe an age thing, but I was the same all my years. If you get a right good vanilla, you remember the Halcyon days, Peter. We're only a hop, a skip, and a jump for here. The Fir Park Cafe that was outside Motherwell Stadium. That was the right soft scoop stuff that you go in the wee tub right up to the brim, right? Yeah. Homemade stuff, lovely vanilla. It was great.
It was a lovely cafe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ruffy, for yourself?
Madagascan vanilla from Marks and Spencer's.
See, excellent. There's a whole. I'd encourage you both to go and see it. It was the forthcoming film. It's like a documentary style film. It's out in the picture, just about the history of ice cream, and it's meant to be good. It was directed by the Coen brothers.
By the way, can I just say something to you? Do you know why I actually asked you the question about ice cream? I asked you the question about ice cream because I thought we're on that much of a downer. I'm going to try and take the mood up. By the way, here's Jurgen Klopp who's talking about Liverpool.
Madagascar. Sorry, it's never done talking about raspberry.
Here's Jurgen Klopp talking about how his team have gone from bad to worse.
So I think the problems we had tonight were obvious. So number one, Napoli played a really good game, we played a really bad game. Why did we play a bad game? A little bit because we cannot ignore the start, how it happened. It started with a penalty, then shortly after that another penalty. So in this atmosphere that's not easy. But our problem is obviously a different one. We just didn't play good enough, and that means in our specific case we were never compact.
Yeah, never compact, not at the races. And I'll tell you one thing though, and I'm here to be shot down, Ruffy. I've never been a fan of Chelsea as a club, and I think, you know, their previous owner, I think they're a club that sacked managers when they didn't deserve to be sacked. So the new owners come in and bumped Tuchel, which I was surprised at, I have to say, given his record. But I've heard some pundits talking about, you know, they should be considering, you know, Jurgen Klopp should be beyond considering getting sacked. You know, any pundit or anybody who comes out and suggests that Jurgen Klopp, he was a couple of games away from a quadruple. If they're sacking him, the game's a bogey, by the way.
No, I don't think he's got any chance. He's no chance of getting sacked. I can see why the supporters are upset, because the Liverpool supporters, they expect to be winning every week. You know, they don't expect to be where they are. Just a wee question. We were talking about Rangers there. They did the final last year. Has he strengthened Liverpool? Has he strengthened his squad? Has he brought quite a lot?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought he'd sort of arrested.
Brought in Carvalho, brought in Nunez as well.
Not to a big, large extreme of he thought he had the right deal.
No, but I think the key element of it, especially when you've got that amount of money, Tam, for any of the big clubs, the key element is from a position of strength, you add to it and strengthen, but it's specific areas where you know that jigsaw needs strengthened. He's had a few injuries to key players. Thiago was a blow as well that he lost. Nunez was out suspended, so he's had a few players that really, you know, he could have done with early on the season. It hasn't been a great start to the season, but unfortunately, down south, you know, it's up here is a similar situation now. Down south, he's under pressure because Man City have had a fabulous start. Up here, Rangers are under pressure because Celtic look relentless.
Yeah, it's the same the world over. But I must say, for the kind of casual observer's point of view, I'm detecting that the Liverpool fans, just the stuff that I read on social media, they seem to be directing most of their ire at the players, you know, because they've undoubtedly got a special bond with Jurgen Klopp, and you know that fine well, Peter. You know, I'm trying to think the last time the Liverpool fans, the Klopp, had such a relationship with a manager of Liverpool. So you're right away, the very idea that I'm getting his jotters is complete and utter bonkers, but that was just last night that Napoli at times toyed with Liverpool, and some of the goals that they lost, you know, were, you know, it didn't look like that great Liverpool team that we've enjoyed watching the past few years now. But not a Klopp. You're right. You'd as well just stopping the game. You know, stop association football globally if he gets his sack.
Yeah, and the other thing about it, Ruffy, and I've talked to a number of my mates who support Rangers. We need to get a sense of perspective here on this. It's okay, you've lost an Old Firm game, you know, fine. You know, the expectation for Champions League going up a level when you cannot even, Celtic and Rangers cannot spend anything near what these clubs are spending. We need to put a lid on it. We need to calm down here. You know, nothing's been decided this early on.
when you're saying about, okay, we've lost an Old Firm game, you ask any Rangers fans, it wasn't about losing the Old Firm game, it wasn't even maybe the fact that they lost by 4 goals, it was the manner of the defeat. When you think that Celtic opened the scoring in the 8th minute, and Rangers get their first direct attempt on target in the 88th minute, when have you ever seen an Old Firm fixture like that? That, I think, is what scunnered the Rangers fans, and certainly that performance last night. You'd need to trawl through the archive through the week in the newspapers and all the other media clips. I bet you there was just as many Rangers players coming out and saying, yeah, we owe the fans a performance, that was terrible against it, but we'll bite back, we'll give our all tonight for these supporters, and they didn't. It was absolute garbage. So that's why the weekend game is going to be utterly fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that's 2 disappointing results with contrasting views on the performance of the teams, that's for certain. But what about the third team that's playing in European football? And we certainly hope that they can maybe just put a bit of sunshine in the air, and maybe tomorrow we'll be talking about a good performance by Hearts against Istanbul Başakşehir. Adam Binney is our man out at Tynecastle. Looking forward to this one. Of course, Adam, the Hearts fans will be looking and thinking to themselves, okay, we'd love to have had Europa League, but we've got Conference League, and they're all going to turn up there in great numbers to support the team at Tynecastle.
Yeah, expecting 18,000 Hearts fans inside Tynecastle tonight. That's probably about 18,000 more than you'll expect from Istanbul Başakşehir. Hearts 5 losses in their last 6 matches. It's not been a great run of form. They'll be devastated after the 2 defeats to FC Zurich. They came oh so close after an impressive first hour, but the Hearts fans are very important to getting their side back on track tonight. That's what Robbie Neilson was saying in his press conference yesterday, that the fans have a huge part to play in making sure that Tynecastle is rocking tonight and that Hearts can get a positive result.
And we certainly hope they can get a positive result, Adam. Over and above that, the big question is, Hearts haven't been firing in all cylinders. What type of squad does he have available? What's he been saying about, the players and how they're going to approach this one?
Yeah, they just added to the squad recently. They got the new signing, Robert Snodgrass. He was announced earlier this week, but I'm afraid they just missed the registration deadline for European football, so there'll be no Robert Snodgrass tonight. They were hoping that he could add some firepower to that front three in the 3-4-3 formation. They'll be without Liam Boyce, of course. He's out for the rest of the season, but the main men for Hearts, you would expect Barry Mackay, Lawrence Shanklin to have been firing at the start of the season to get their shooting boots back. Cammy Devlin was very impressive in the last European game against FC Zurich. I would suspect he will go in from the start, but it's interesting. We don't know quite what team Hearts are going to play. I chanced my arm. I did try to get an early team line inside just as I was putting my bag and tripod away, but there's no team news as of yet. But I would suspect the usual 3-4-3 formation. I know there was a slight difference to that at the weekend against Livingston, but I would imagine it would go back to the standard formation with Devlin and George Grant in midfield instead of Peter Haring and Andy Halliday.
Expect at this point, Adam, to Istanbul. What can we expect from the opposition tonight against Hearts that would lead us to believe that maybe Hearts could get a positive result?
Well, I'm afraid if you look into the statistics and results of Istanbul Başakşehir, you would not be very you'd not be very pleased if you're a Hearts fan. It's not looking good for them at all. Istanbul, they've not lost a match in any competition since March. They've played 10 games already this season, including European qualifiers. Won 7 of those, drawn 3. If they win their game in hand, they go top of the Turkish Super League. So it's not looking good for Hearts. This is a top side they're up against. Although there is a little bit of team news I can bring you from the opposition. It may be some great music to the ears of Hearts fans. They'll be without Mesut Ozil and Nasser Chadli. Nasser Chadli has just recently been loaned out back to a club in his homeland of Belgium, and Mesut Ozil has not travelled as he is recovering from the flu. So that's 2 very important players for them missing, so that will be of the benefit to Hearts. But of course they've still got some fantastic players. Lucas Biglia, the main one, the Argentinian central defensive midfielder. Robbie Neilson pinpointed him in his press conference yesterday. He's definitely one to look out for. So maybe not looking so good for Hearts if you take a look into the results and standings for Istanbul Başakşehir.
Yeah, okay, well there you are. I was hoping Adam would give us just even a modicum of optimism, but it's just not materialised because he's done his homework. He knows exactly the standard of player that Istanbul have there. If you're looking at Mesut Ozil, playing in that squad as well, Ruffy. Thank God he's not playing tonight, but you know, as Adam highlights there, they're up for a tough opening game when we're looking for just even one ray of positivity.
Yeah, well, I got the last two results wrong, drastically wrong. I'm hoping I can maybe get this one right. I can't see Hearts beating this side. Haven't lost a game since March. It's a really strong league. You know, they must have something in them. I haven't seen Hearts in the last couple of games. The defeat against Livingston, an unimpressive result against St Johnstone. So I think the best Hearts can get out of this is a draw.
It's one of those shows, Tam. I'm glad we did the ice cream gag because I'm on an absolute downer of you.
You want any more ice cream gags? Honestly, I've got hundreds and thousands of them. But the what was I going to say? I think the 12th man is the most important person, if you like, on the team sheet for Hearts. But that, of course, I mean the fans. I think Robin Nielsen admitted as much. Ruffy said they've not been that great recently. 5 defeats in their last 6 games. That tells its own story. But after the latest defeat, asked about this game tonight, Robin Nielsen said, "We appear to have lost our spark, but I'm hoping that there'll be an electric atmosphere at Tynecastle." Yeah. He's clearly know what it's like. You know, at Tynecastle, a midweek European tie under the floodlights, the place will be absolutely rammed, as we know, and I think he's really looking for the Hearts fans to do their job tonight, and you know, and that could, you know, that could just kickstart Hearts season if they do get a wee win tonight. But you're right, we've seen this picture before, Peter, where. And I really look forward to watching it tonight. Glad it's on the box. You imagine Istanbul, they'll be one of these really just slick teams, you know, and they could just carve maybe Hearts open and get the win and all the rest of it. And you always feel in that situation, maybe teams, Scottish teams like Hearts, just to play a wee bit stodgier, a wee bit more predictable. But I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I think the Jambos, if I was going the other night myself, and it'd be great, I would never deprive a Hearts fan of a ticket, but I'd love to be there. But I think the goosebumps will be at the night, you know, even maybe watching it at tele. I think Hearts fans will have the place rocking, and I do think that might that might remain their best chance of getting a result.
Yeah, do you think they're going to win?
I'm going to, you know what, my predictions, when I was, somebody almost put a gun to my head, I had Celtic and Real Madrid at 1 each, right? Now seems slightly silly, but when you're watching the first half, was I so far out? I tipped Rangers Ajax 0-0. I got one half of that right, so that wasn't bad. And tonight I've gone for a 2-1 win for Hearts.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to go for a draw at best for Hearts, Ruffy.
Yeah, I've gone for 1 each.
Yeah, and to be fair, you nearly won 5 points at the weekend there because you had Celtic 5, Rangers 0. You were close to getting 5 points for that time, and everybody was laughing at you.
That was a secret. I thought that was just in the WhatsApp group. You've got that. I fancied a 2 each draw last week. I thought, I can't split these two teams, the Glasgow Giants. No, I did. Celtic had been a magnificent for them. And there you go, I was only a goal out with that prediction. Incidentally, now you split it back to Celtic, or just briefly, and I know you've got all the time in the world for them, Peter, and you've had a lot of dealings with them. You've had the one, etc. But I thought Gordon Strachan, as a pundit the other night, was magnificent.
Yeah,
I thought he was brilliant. See if I was Gordon Strachan, in fact, if he was watching, as I'd say to Gordon, you know, he's got these roles that nobody quite knows what he's doing at Dundee and Celtic, right? Yeah. He should have ripped him up over the summer and picked up the phone to the bosses at Sky Sports, at the BBC or whatever, and says, right, I just want to be a pundit now. Who's offered me the best deal? Because I think he's brilliant. In the same way that I love watching guys like Souness.
Yes.
I'm obviously biased, some of the Scottish greats here, but same way you enjoy watching Souness, or there's Roy Keane, I better turn the volume up here. I think Strachan's like, he gives so much. He's never lazy when he gets a booking as a pundit. I thought he was smashing the other night.
Yeah.
And he did say he wants, here's maybe a wee PLZ production. He did say the other night, I'm sure you heard him saying that, he would love to make a documentary about Luka Modric. Did you hear him saying that?
Yeah.
When he was billing in Coon. Get right in there, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had him on as a one-to-one this season already. Ruffy, I thought he was absolutely magnificent. Brilliant. You can actually still see Gordon Strachan talking about his playing career and his management on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We do it in our special one-to-ones. I agree with you, Tam. I think it's, Pundits, I don't like I certainly don't like getting into a situation where, you know, other channels and broadcasters sniping each other about pundits and what they've said. I like, you know, the odd reference for some of the mad stuff that we all chat and say to each other. We don't mind a dig from other pundits, but there are some that are just absolutely top drawer. Keane, you'd listen to every day of the week. I do like Gary Neville, and I think Gordon Strachan. I mean, I loved Martin O'Neill, who was a pundit on ITV with the football as well. I think it was great.
I think the difficult one that some of the pundits have got, if they play for a certain team, they find it hard to criticise when they're on.
Yeah.
No, it's a hard shift.
Absolutely. Let's not go down that road. I think we call them flag wavers.
Okay.
But I think everybody knows who they are. But nevertheless, fingers crossed that Hearts can get something tonight. 23-10 Hearts, Istanbul 10-11, and draw 5-2. That tells you how tight it is. Even Robbie Nielsen alluded to yesterday how tight this group is going to be.
It's going to be tough to progress out of this group. You know, playing against the two top seeds within our top teams. You know, one won the Turkish Championship a couple of years ago. The other one's, you know, second or third in Serie A. So it's going to be hard, but we just have to take one game at a time. We can't start thinking about, you know, we're going to try and get X amount of points throughout the group stage. Take the next game, hopefully deal with that. And then make sure our form for the league campaign is good as well, because that at the end of the day is the bread and butter that got us where we are just now. And then take the games as they come.
Yeah, okay, fingers crossed Hearts get something. Nevertheless, it's been a tough week for Scottish clubs. Let's hope they can do something. And of course, then we look forward to the weekend as well, and the Scottish Premiership too. There's a wee bit of gossip going around just before we talk about the games at the weekend, guys. But I like a wee bit of gossip. Do you, Tam? You did that as if you were... I know you did the old Les Dawson. Brilliant.
Go on, he's a man gossip.
Graham Potter in line to be the Chelsea boss, but then they suggested that Ange Postecoglou could be in line for the Brighton job. I'm sorry, Tam, but anybody who goes to Brighton goes there to play bingo. It's just not happening.
Yeah, and maybe if you...
I mean, the Leicester thing's different.
It's different. It's different,
Leicester's the only club he wanted to play for.
Celtic fan, I never even bothered claiming it. He was in Seville. He just didn't have to at the time, but he soon got the violin out when he was up here about what a great Celtic man he was and all the rest of it. Pew! Right away, first chance he got. I never say no in football, Peter. You know how it is. You know how it is. And you're right, you know, for that really energised team that Ange Postecoglou has put together. You know, when you think you've got that, folk out with Scottish football will be observing that. And then you've got last night Giovanni Van Bronckhorst saying that, you know, you need hundreds of millions today to put a dent in the Champions League. Then other clubs that maybe have got that money, but maybe don't have a manager like Postecoglou, you know, put two and two together. And then he could be out the door, you know. But, you know, I would imagine, though, if he went tomorrow, he would go with the Celtic fans' blessing, you know. If he went to a bigger club, a richer club, whatever you want to call it, you know. But, never, you know, you can't rule anything out, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I would say to you, and I think I say this without fear of, well, you can never rule anything out, but come on, you're not going to Brighton. You're not going to win anything. Give us peace. You don't become manager of Celtic and then go to Brighton, do you? Do you?
No, not at this particular stage. He's redevelopment of the club and what he's doing at the club, and he'll be joining like nights like the other night there, you know, and with the lights on and everything that goes with it, and the teams that are coming to Parkhead, the Real Madrid. So, no, once you've got a taste of that, it'd have to be a really, really big attraction.
And I'll tell you, I have spoken to him and I've been in his company in a one-on-one situation on more than a few occasions. And certainly from my perception of the man, I just don't get it. You know, I just don't see that in him, Tam.
Well, okay. I just thought we might have cracked it there when we were talking about all three Scottish teams, you know. In terms of getting some decent results, we keep talking about this, you know, the Celtic Park or Ibrox or Tynecastle under the floodlights. Maybe try it without the floodlights and say, look, it's all part of this cost of living crisis and the energy bills. So just to kind of, you know, do the right thing, we're not putting any floodlights on the night. So you basically get, you know, Rangers out playing Liverpool at Ibrox in the dark.
Yeah.
See how they got on. Can't do any worse. And when, you know, whoever comes to Parkhead next, do the same in Hearts tonight.
Yeah.
Just see, you're doing it for the country, you're doing it for the nation, you're leading by example, and see how they get on.
Do you think the ice cream gag has maybe just thrown you right off the edge of the couch, by the way? You okay? Listen, see when Ruffy starts looking at you like that, then you know there's a problem.
Potty glue attached, no ice cream.
Absolutely. The other thing I was just going to mention, it's just one thing aside from that Ange post. I thought I'd read it out because I just thought.
So where did that come from? I mean, was that just?
Of course, this is what happens. You throw it out as speculation, but you know, I speak to him and I've spoken to him and I thought to myself, nah, I'm sorry, it's just I can't see it. I think he's got a job that he wants to do here, and there'll be a lot bigger clubs than Brighton that will be attracting him if he can do something with Celtic domestically and what he said on a European
September
front.
the 8th, Thursday, September the 8th at 4:45.
Yep.
We'll dig this clip out.
I'm quite happy for him to dig it out. Yeah, I'm quite happy for him to dig it out. The other thing I was going to say, and I think I speak for everyone on this football show, and lots of people, just on a little story that came out today that caught my eye because I thought he was a really good player. Marcus Stewart's been diagnosed with motor neuron disease. He played for Ipswich, Sunderland and Huddersfield. It is, for me, possibly one of those diseases, Tam, that I think it's just, I just wish, I hope and pray somebody can find a cure for it, because it's one of those situations where you watch a perfectly fit and able person with a really switched on mind watch their body shut down, and they still have that switched on mind.
Disappear in front of you. I've had a lot of dealings with MND in recent years through MND Scotland. It's a cause actually very, very close to my heart. One of my good pals succumbed to it just over 7 years ago. And you know what, Peter, the one thing I'll always go back to in MND and how awful it is, I remember talking to Graham Souness about it when he had been to visit Fernando Rickson in the St Andrews Hospice, not a million miles from here, and then with him for the hospice do at night. And in fact, it was only last week I was telling you how I saw him crying when he was basically telling this story about Rickson. But what he said to me after it, and you can imagine the medical experts, the high-end doctors that Graham Souness would have at his disposal, the sort of guys he would deal with.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be running down to local surgery and sitting and waiting his turn to get seen by a doctor. Souness said that his doctor, his specialist, said that is by far the worst thing you can get. In terms of what it does to you, and in terms of the effect it has in your family, he says there are 101 other things that you would almost sooner get than that. So it's, you know, you can only wish that poor guy all the very best. And you see it up here. Now, we have seen it with Fernando Rickson, we saw it back in the day, Jimmy Johnson, perhaps one of the most the initial high profile ones, certainly in terms of football, and then Big Doddy Weir, you're seeing it with that man now, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, I remember when he was first, no long after his diagnosis, and then he was trying to do some fundraising, we had him on the radio with us, and this giant of a man, he could barely get in the studio, you know, he could duck to get into your radio studio, and you see him then and you see him now, and what that terrible condition has done to him. It's awful. So good luck.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody here passes on their best wishes to Marcus Stewart. As far as the weekend is concerned, guys, we're back to Scottish Premiership action, and here are the fixtures that we can look forward to. Aberdeen against Rangers, 12 o'clock kickoff, incredible. Celtic against Livingston, Dundee United Hibs, Kilmarnock against St Johnstone, it's Ross County Motherwell, and then Hearts against St Mirren is on the Sunday. So some belter games there, and of course everybody, all eyes on Pittodrie, Ruffy, because you know, you get to that situation, you can always tell when there's a story, the journalists are up there, they're hovering like vultures because they sense there's a story, and you get nothing better than Aberdeen Rangers for potentially a shock, a third game that Rangers might find themselves behind the 8 ball.
Not for me. I haven't bought into this Aberdeen new team, this new team that's going to threaten third place, fourth place, whatever. I don't know, he's got a lot of new players, but inconsistency there. You know, I keep waiting on them going on a run and it doesn't happen, they fall flat in the face. No, I think Rangers will go up there. I know they haven't rolled their sleeves up the last 2 games, but I think they know going up to Aberdeen, you know, that this is one place that they have to, and everybody, all the Rangers fans think Aberdeen are the only team that put up a show against Rangers, so they've got that to deal with as well, which isn't obviously true,
Look at the stats with that, Ruffy. You're right, you always hear that. Oh, Aberdeen only try when they play against Rangers. Look at Aberdeen's results against Rangers for the best part of 25 years now. They're utterly appalling. You know, that is a nonsense. But I think with that one, Peter, I kind of agree with Ruffy because you know, it was only a week and a half ago Aberdeen were taking into extra time by Annan Athletic, right? And we've seen this scenario before where supposedly Celtic Rangers bit of a wobble, they could come a cropper this weekend. Could just as easy find that Rangers got there and win 2 or 3 now, you know, and again because they are back at the level that they're most comfortable with, you know, simple as that.
I don't think you're being harsh, Tam. I think you're offering what I think is the reality of where we are in Scottish football. Celtic against Livingston, we've had David Martindale in here. I thought he was absolutely superb. You should look back on that show and listen to David's insight into football, but he's certainly looking forward to taking on Celtic and Ange Postecoglou.
It's thought-provoking because you're going into the game as a manager looking at what Ange is doing and looking at ways to try and find solutions to stop Celtic and Ange doing that. So it's definitely demanding on you as an individual. It's thought-provoking. It makes me dig a wee bit deeper.
Yeah, I like the way that he's relishing the prospect of taking him on. The only thing I would say, Ruffy, is he's got that many options now. Domestically, I think Celtic are going to take some stopping.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that. The style of play that they have, and I think David will be honest enough with his players. Look, let's just go there, put up a good show, you know, try and have a goal whenever you can, but you don't want to be coming away with a 4 and a 5-0 defeat because you've got to think about the rest of the season. So they'll go there, they'll be organised as what they can. They'll be hoping Celtic maybe tamper with their team a wee bit, you know, but Livingston at home, not at Parkhead. And I know they have done it at Parkhead.
It was a late equaliser.
He was in there ready to batter. He's on that mood at the moment, isn't he?
I knew, but I just think at this moment in time, I can't see anything else.
Is there any rush for Dundee United to get a manager in? Have I missed something here?
Yeah,
They're taking their time.
Yeah, and I must say as well, I think they do need the manager in because Motherwell, and I think Liam Fox admitted as much after the game, Motherwell hammered them 0-0 last Saturday, Peter. You know, the only thing we couldn't do was score. Been really impressed with the new look, Motherwell, if you like, under Stevie Hamill. We got, you know, a wee bit like Celtic the other night. They got it after being beaten 4-0. After a 0-0, which is normally one that the fans, they tut and they walk away aim. The fans gave Mullow a great ovation last week, but I thought Dundee United looked very, very ordinary, and they need somebody to get in there and kick a bit of backside. I still really hope, he might do it literally, of course, but Duncan Ferguson for me, it'd be great. It would be magnificent. It's what, you know, it'd be Scottish football in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Getting him back up in here would be great. Be
Absolutely.
brilliant.
The patter and the I mean, I'd actually, so that's my only gripe is sometimes if you want to go to a Dundee United press conference, you have to take a weekend away because it's up at St Andrews. It's a trek. Right. It's a trek, Tam.
There are worse places in the world to go than St Andrews.
I agree with you.
Talk about ice cream, you've got Giannetta's just up there. Absolutely superb. Best ice cream parlour in the UK.
Yeah. You just, never mind about ice cream, you just get your thinking cap on about our weekend, you know, the big staff night out, because everybody's now champing at the bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ice cream won't be an issue that night. 2 courses. You still get
ice cream vans going about? I've not heard an ice cream van.
Well, you don't get them up in your estate because the alarm goes off if you know, it breaches first of all the hounds and then gets into the inner circle of your house, Ruffy.
You get ice cream vans?
Not now.
What?
Ice cream?
We get them round here.
He took his own life. And you've cheered me up now, But that was it. No, he was found in his van. He had like wee mini flakes on him and wafers and nugget wafers and all that, and hundreds and thousands. And they reckon that he topped himself. You must have had to wait.
I know. I can see it coming. I can see it.
What was your favourite when the van came round?
When the van came round, what I did, here's a trick. I didn't have the money when the van came round.
Yeah.
I could, but see when it was normally my Uncle Jim and Manty Margaret. Sadly, my Uncle Jim no longer is. They emigrated in the 60s. They were seen to have a bit of money, but they came back out to Scotland and came out to Motherwell every year. And you waited, me and my wee sister, we were fly as anything, right? If they were in the house, and it was a non-starter going into my mother daft ice cream van, was there just a hunt at you? I've not got any money.
Yeah.
Uncle Jim and Auntie Margaret, when they were visiting, the minute you heard the chimes straight in, and then a big Oscar-winning performance to your mum and dad, that's the ice cream, but can we get something? Right away they were dipping in their purse, mine a big 50 pence piece, you know, and you'd be, oh, you beauty, you know. But now you asked the question, I was partial to a single nugget.
Single nugget.
Not the that was too hard to eat when you were a kid, the double, but
the double meant somebody had won something on the lottery or the pools, to be perfectly honest with you. Thanks very much to Tony Holton, who says we out with the ginger bottles, Tam.
Oh, I no shame in that.
Just out of curiosity, can I ask you this before we go?
I used to go to the pictures.
I know, but can you still take ginger bottles back and get money now?
Oh no, because they used to have the amount on the cap, of course.
Yeah,
I've not seen that.
You don't get money?
No.
Obviously from a recycling thing. You know, I've never seen it. Anyway, the mere fact that we've mentioned that is incredible. It's going to be a great weekend of football. Let's hope Hearts can get a result tonight, and we're talking about it.
Prediction?
I think a draw, 1-1 at best.
I'd go on to say 2-1, Ruffy.
I've went 1-1.
Okay. Simple as that. Thanks to so many of you who commented on your football today on our feed and kept it sensible. We do try to the best of our ability to ban anybody who just basically can't conduct themselves in the proper manner. So it's as simple as that. As far as today, great crack with Tam and of course Ruffy. Even Jimbo's in there and he says a snowball special. Everybody loves the ice cream van.
Oh, they all love the ice cream.
Absolutely.
I mean, me and the wife for Natalie, and I caught her licking the nuts off a Neapolitan.
So
they do the best ice cream. Kind of crushed candied nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll leave you on that thought as we head out. Join us tomorrow if you can. We'll look ahead in detail to that. I've just got Liz's picture. I've got Liz's picture in my mind now.
Glad this isn't live.
Yeah, I'll leave you with the answer to the quiz. Thanks very much to Errol, who's saying the quiz. The answer. Napoli won the UEFA Cup in 1989. Maradona at his absolute best. So Maradona led them to the Serie A on 2 occasions, won the UEFA Cup with them. That's the last time and the only time that Napoli have actually won a European trophy, but they certainly were scintillating last night against Liverpool. Join us if you can, hit the subscribe button, download the app, and you'll get all the latest breaking football news as well. We've got lots of great things coming up. We've got reporters out following European football for all 3 clubs, Celtic, Rangers and Hearts. Hopefully you'll get into our content. There's lots of competitions coming up as well where you can win some really good football tops and some good bits of memorabilia as well. All you have to do...
One quick appeal before we finish.
Fire away.
First up, happy birthday to my dad. It's my dad's 89th.
Brilliant.
This week you had his sister, Manny Martha, all the way from Australia, her 90th.
Yep.
Not so long ago.
Which is good news for you and your genes, DNA.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Great news. But we're taking them down to Loves Blackpool. So the whole family's taking them down to Blackpool this weekend. If anybody can get me on my social media, on Instagram, best place to watch the football down in Blackpool. There must be a place at 4. Oh, I'll always go to such and such a place. At the real Tam Cowan on Instagram.
That's a good shout, isn't it, Ruffy?
Would you have a clue to where to go yourself? I mean, years ago it was the Jaggy Thistle. I'm assuming that's long since gone, aye?
Yeah, is Yates still open?
I don't know. I want to see the Aberdeen Rangers game. It's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. And of course, that's the great thing about it. People who are in control and can watch football 4 or 5 nights a week, Ruffy. Yeah. You know, whether you're a male football fan or female football fan, if you can watch it 3 or 4 nights a week in your house, you're doing well.
See to bring it full circle and show you what a professional broadcaster I am, I can tie this up with ice cream and the PLZ football show.
Go on.
Because I keep getting invited to it. I've never been, you might even know him, but Charlie Adam, formerly of this city, has got a very, very close pal in Blackpool who's got a huge ice cream parlour, Luca.
Yeah.
Pal is obviously Italian descent and all that. He keeps contacting me and saying, oh, Charlie said that he knows you, come along, bring the way in. Never been, must do it this weekend. It's going to be.
Excellent.
I'll bring you something back.
Well, we're looking forward to meeting up with Charlie again. He hasn't left us. He's joining us for the Liverpool jaunt down to Liverpool against Rangers.
Is it going to that?
Yeah, we're going to do Liverpool Rangers. Me, Tam McManus, obviously we'll be dressed as women, but Charlie will be there. And obviously we're looking forward to that as well.
I can whistle for your meal.
On that note,
yourself.
Thanks to Tam, thanks to Ruffy, and thanks to you. Hit the subscribe button if you can. Thanks for watching.